You know what? That wasn't half bad. Thor: The Dark World is a superhero movie, obviously, but I mean that in like the what you might think of when you hear that something is a superhero movie. It's not like with something like with Batman, where it's like, oh, it's a superhero movie, but it's got this and this going for it. It's like, no, this is just a superhero movie. And a very silly one at that. This is a very, very silly movie. You could almost... Okay, well, since we're talking a sequel, how did I feel about the first one? Well, first one was not good. I didn't like the first one very much. I liked seeing Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I liked how the costume turned out. It wasn't nearly as silly as I thought. I liked Idris Elba. It was the first thing I'd seen him in anything. And that was it. It was a very long trailer for the Avengers, what it was. There wasn't anything particularly to it. It's kind of a superhero, or Superman syndrome, where it's like, well, what do you do with a guy that is basically a god? Except in this case, he's literally a god. So what they do is they introduce a love interest, which, I mean, that's Superman too, but... or that's Superman also. But you've also got this, it also created this great relationship dynamic between Thor and Loki. And that's the best part of this movie too. Granted, this one is still good, but on paper it's pretty much the same plot as the first one. You've got a race of bad guys that need something, a very specific something, in order to destroy everything and be bad guys. And Thor has to stop them, I guess. And that's the plot. It's the same plot as the other one. They just kind of shoehorn in Natalie Portman into this one. And the first one is because it took place on Earth. That's where he was banished to. And he just happened to meet this chick. This time, the chick, or Natalie Portman, just so happens to come across the one thing that the bad guys need for no reason. Like, she literally stumbles into where it's at on Earth. There's no other reason for her to be in the movie because, well, we need to have a love interest, so people won't be invested, or there's nothing to root for, so it's just she's in there. It's not that I don't like Natalie Portman, it's just that there's no reason for her to be in the movie. Kat Dennings was one of the worst things about the first Thor to me. Everyone has a different sense of humor. I get that she was a comic relief character, but she was the kind of comic relief character that's like very Two and a Half Men, very like sitcom style, and now she's into sitcoms, so I guess she found what she's good at. Good for her, I guess. But in this, maybe she's perfecting her craft because she's actually in a sitcom now. She didn't bug me nearly as much. In fact, she didn't really annoy me at all throughout the movie. There were some scenes where I was kind of like, we don't really need any comic relief right now. We don't need your sarcastic commentary at the moment. But, I mean, as long as she's gonna be there, she might as well not be annoying as shit. It's the same thing as the first movie. I don't know what else to say. I usually just get in front of the camera and I find out stuff as I talk, but it's very surface value. There's nothing else going on in the movie. I keep hiccuping because I drank a lot of soda at the thing. It's Thor and the search for space Kool-Aid. That's the Deus Ex Machina that everyone's after. It's space Kool-Aid. They introduce, there's space elves that squeeze rocks from their pants, and then they turn into big cave trolls. I'm really not making any of this up. This stuff happens in the movie. It's, like I said, it's a very silly movie. It's just silly shit happening for like no reason. And then the final act, all the scientists like Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings are running around and they're sticking stuff in the ground, and I'm just like, I don't know what we're doing or where anyone is going. What's happening? I mean, it's the basic understanding of, oh, we need to stop the bad guy was not difficult to follow. I just didn't know why we were hammering things into the ground. I didn't know why there was a rush for things. Oh, that's right, because the worlds are aligning perfectly. When they align, the villain can do whatever he wants and will bring destruction. Anytime that you need a timer in something space related, you just just have the planets align. That's your clock. That's your time limit. They did it in Hercules. They did it in this. You could go back through the years and find it's a pretty common thing. Oh, just the de facto. I guess the planets align. That's when everything goes to hell. Again, it's not bad. It's just there's nothing really great about it either. It's just kind of an eh. This one, at least, we don't spend a whole lot of time on Earth. Well, actually, that's a detriment, too, because on the one hand, it does feel like an adventure when you're not on Earth. You're going to all these places and stuff, but on the other hand, there's not really a chance for humor, and that was the one thing in the first movie that really worked, was the fish-out-of-water humor with Thor interacting with our world. And the few times that happens in this movie, it works. It still shines through perfectly, but at the expense of, I mean, you have all this great, adventure stuff at the expense of being not quite as frothy as the first one. But maybe that's a good thing, because again, I didn't like the first one all that much. It was not a very good. The romance in this, and it still sucks. I would say the two detriments in the first movie was the chemistry and just how serious it was taking itself. They fixed that in the seriousness in this one. It's much more kind of self-aware of how silly it is. But the romance in it still sucks. There's zero chemistry, which is weird because they're both really supposedly very pretty people. I think Natalie Portman's very pretty, but I have no thoughts or opinions on Chris Hemsworth, like, whatsoever. I know he could kill me with a finger, but other than that, yeah. So this is getting very rambly. I'm just kind of repeating myself. Do I recommend it? I guess if you've got to see every single Marvel movie out there, sure. It's. I feel like they're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here for. You know what it feels like? If any of you watch anime, or even like normal TV shows do this sometimes too, this feels like filler. This feels like, oh, well, we'll continue the Avengers storyline, the one that everyone's following eventually, but in the meantime, let's have a little story going on with Thor, where it seems like things are going bad, but then everything revolves back around and we end up at the same place we were at before. The movie ends in almost the exact same place, with one exception. I won't spoil it, but it feels like filler. It feels like the Marvel movie equivalent of filler. As far as filler goes, it's not bad. It's the effects range from being laughable to being pretty darn good. The actors do a good job. Humor is hit and miss. Yeah. Oh, and I will say this. Marvel has started to, they're nice enough to actually put the end credits scene at about the 1/3 mark of the credits. So you're not waiting through the entire credits just to see their stuff. It's almost like they realize, like, oh my god, people's bladders are bursting in theaters. We're making them wait through all this stuff. And theater ushers around the world rejoice because they don't have to wait on people sitting through the credits anymore. They can just get in there and do their thing. I hated that when I worked at a theater when Iron Man came out, and it pissed me off. We hated Marvel when Marvel movies came out because we always counted like people are just going to sit through the credits, so let's not even show up to clean it for another like 5 minutes. But they moved it to the first the 1/3 mark or so around the credits, and it was interesting. I'm not going to spoil it, but it doesn't make any damn sense if you know nothing about Marvel. It's just setting up more stuff for the Avengers, like they've always been doing. So, I'm interested. Anyway, Thor: The Dark World. Fuck it.